This episode is brought to you by pastasworld.com, where you can find jigsaw puzzles, coffee and tea mugs, canvas and poster prints, iPhone cases, and more. You can even order custom items with your own pictures. Go to pastasworld.com or the Pastas World shop on Etsy to learn more.
You're listening to I Love This TV Show, The Golden Girls.
Hi, and welcome to the I Love This TV Show podcast. I'm your host, Noelle from pastasworld.com. Each season of this podcast will contain a TV show in full. This means the length of the season depends on the length of the TV show. The first season is, of course, The Golden Girls. The Golden Girls, Season 1, Episode 15, In a Bed of Roses. Rose is seeing a new man. They come back to the house. Rose is hesitant to bring him in, but he begs. She finally lets him inside. She tells him she has never brought someone home before. They discuss being quiet. The next morning, when Rose goes into the kitchen, Dorothy asks about the dream she was having. Blanche, on the other hand, assumed she was making love. Rose tries to rush them off to golf, but Sophia enters and stops them. She tells Rose there's a man in her bed, and he's dead. Sophia: there's a man in your bed. Rose: oh, Sophia, there's not. Blanche: why, you devil, you. Dorothy: so that was what we heard, Rose? Blanche: Rose got lucky. Sophia: not so lucky. The man in your bed is dead. Rose: what? Sophia: dead. Rose doesn't believe Sophia when she says the man is dead. She tries to play it off that he's just shy, he's just sleeping, etc. But last night says otherwise, and everyone starts to be a bit concerned. Sophia: you don't think I can recognize death? I lived in a retirement home. Death visited more often than children. Everyone starts to freak out. No one wants to go and check and see if he's dead or asleep. Dorothy finally loses her patience and decides to check for herself. Dorothy: this is ridiculous. I mean, here we sit, calmly eating our bran flakes, when there could be a dead man in the house. I'll go. Blanche: she's very brave. Rose: boy, I'll say. Dorothy: I want someone to come with me. Sophia: I'll go, I'll go. I'm from Sicily. What's the big deal? Rose still chooses to insist that he's not dead, that he's just sleeping. Blanche asks her who he is, and Rose tells her that he sells diamonds, he's from Boca Raton, and his name is Al Beatty. Dorothy comes out and confirms that he is dead. Rose: you mean I slept with a dead man last night? Blanche: honey, I sleep with them all the time. Rose starts freaking out now. Dorothy tells her she needs to call the police. But Rose gets more upset because she doesn't want the police to think she killed him. Dorothy tries to calm her by telling her it was probably a heart attack. She asks Rose if he talked about any relatives. He did tell her about a sister he has. So Blanche checks the phone book and finds a Beatty listed in Boca Raton. When Rose calls the woman listed in the phone book, she learns that Al is not her brother, but her husband. Rose freaks out again. She has no idea how to tell his wife. Rose does finally go to see Al's wife, but first she tries to get rid of Rose. His wife winds up telling Rose that Al's a serial cheater. Rose tells her that last night Al had a heart attack and died. The two start to commiserate. Rose says it's her fault. Rose tells her that her late husband had a heart attack with her as well. Rose: and it's all my fault. He had a heart attack. Mrs. Beatty: it's not your fault. Rose: he had a heart attack with me. Mrs. Beatty, my late husband had a heart attack with me as well. They dropped like flies around me. Mrs. Beatty: Mrs. Nyland, you're not responsible for the death of my husband. Rose: I'll never date again. Mrs. Beatty: you will. Rose: I won't. I can't. Mrs. Beatty: in time, you'll forget this. Rose: never. Mrs. Beatty winds up comforting Rose, but she pulls up short and reminds her that it's her husband that just died and she needs some comforting too. Back at the house, Blanche has Dorothy try a diet dressing. She thinks it's horrible. She gives her some advice. Dorothy: honey, beware of anyone who says no calories, absolutely no charge, and let's just lie down on the bed and watch television. Rose arrives back looking depressed. She might give up men. Rose: I'm gonna become a nun. I'm the kiss of death. It's the second time a man has died in my bed. Blanche is completely shocked by this revelation. She wants to know what exactly Rose does in bed. Blanche then talks about a black widow that she heard about. Rose tells a story about a woman in St. Olaf who backed over her husband with a combine. Dorothy tries to make Rose realize that she is not to blame for either death. It's now another night and the girls are going square dancing, but Rose decides to stay home. She tells another St. Olaf story before they leave, though. 2 St. Olaf stories in one episode. She still refuses to go dancing. Dorothy: honey, you sure you're going to be all right here alone? Sophia: she'll be fine. If someone breaks in, she'll just have to sleep with them. After the girls leave, the doorbell rings. Rose had fallen asleep on the couch. When she opens the door, it's Mrs. Beatty. And Mrs. Beatty tells her that the autopsy results showed that Al's arteries were completely clogged. Mrs. Beatty tells her she's glad her husband didn't die alone, but with a caring person, doing what he loved. Another evening, the girls are out on the lanai. Dorothy and Blanche are playing cards, and Sophia is helping Blanche cheat. Rose comes out in a new dress, but Blanche isn't impressed by it. She got it for her weekend with Arnie. The two are going away for the weekend. Blanche tells her to have fun, and whatever happens, happens. Dorothy tells her to do whatever makes her feel comfortable. In the kitchen, Blanche is cooking. She and Dorothy are wondering where Rose is, as she's 2 hours late. Rose finally comes in looking sad. She tells them that she slept with Arnie and he died. They're both horrified. She then says the sheriff didn't believe her and told her to sleep with him, and so she did, and he died too. But moments later, she burst into laughter. It was a joke. She had a great time with Arnie, though. Dorothy and Blanche are not only horrified by her joke, but they're pretty darn angry, too. And we'll be right back after a short break. Favorite quotes. Blanche: isn't it interesting how the sounds are the same for awful nightmares and great sex? Blanche: so Rose got lucky. Sophia: not so lucky. The man in your bed is dead. Rose: he's shy. He's very shy. Blanche: he didn't sound so shy last night. Sophia: you don't think I can recognize death? I lived in a retirement home. Death visited more often than children. Rose: you mean I slept with a dead man last night? Blanche: honey, I sleep with him all the time. Rose: I can't believe it. There's a married dead man in my bed. Sophia: serves him right. Sophia: tell her you went to turn on the sprinklers and you found him on the lawn. Rose: that's not why I'm here. I have bad news. Mrs. Beatty: well, you couldn't be pregnant. Rose: my late husband had a heart attack as well. They drop like flies around me. Rose: I'm the kiss of death. It's the second time a man has died in my bed. Sophia: she'll be fine. If someone breaks in, she'll just have to sleep with him. Some facts in this episode. Rose is seeing a new man. She's never brought a man home before. The girls all like to play golf. Rose's new boyfriend died in her bed. Blanche tells the first version of George's death, a head-on car accident on the freeway. Rose was actually going out with a married man. She tells Mrs. Beatty her husband died of a heart attack with her as well. So 2. Rose tells the girls Al is the second man to die in her bed. Charlie, her husband, was the first. Rose tells not one Say No Love story, but 2 of them. This is definitely one of my favorite Golden Girls episodes. Just the title of alone, In a Bed of Roses, just sets it up to be absolutely fabulous. I really love how Blanche actually basically compares Rose to a Black Widow without directly doing that comparison. You can see in Dorothy's face, she realizes where Rose is going to possibly be going with this, and poor Al. True that his arteries were beyond clogged, and he probably would have had the heart attack at some point with or without Rose. But that it's the second time Rose has been with someone and they've had a heart attack. Whether it was just too much exertion for their clogged arteries, we shall never know. But it is pretty funny, especially the joke that she plays at the end. 'Cause this is one of my definitely top 10 favorite episodes, where she like totally plays that prank on the girls, because she's normally can't hold a straight face, and she would definitely not be the straight person in a comedy act, because she always busts up. She can't lie, she can't any of that. So the fact that she pulled this one off, getting them to think that Arnie was dead, and then that she slept with the sheriff and he was dead, that is just beyond funny. But it also does kind of show a bit of a truth, because as men get older, their heart attack chances increase. And it can happen in any situation. And everyone and older women as well can be with these older men, or younger women with older men. Ages aren't that much of a deal nowadays. But as you do get older, your arteries get more clogged if you don't eat a healthy diet, if you don't exercise. So extracurricular activities do give you an increased risk of heart attack, maybe possibly stroke. And so a little extra exercise might be a good thing, though sadly in Al and Charlie's case, it definitely was not.
It's been great reliving this episode with you. Please check out the podcast website, anchor.fm/I love this TV show, no spaces. You'll be able to see the show notes and also support this podcast. To check out everything I'm up to and nerding about, head over to pastasworld.com. You'll also find additional content there. Thanks for listening, and stay golden.